record this as well. So we are going to have a panel with the top 3 in revenue increases last year, but we want to do more panels based on generating revenue, but also not only revenue, but also profitability. And so we're going to have a lot more panels, a lot more franchisee Q&A and things like that. So hopefully you'll get some takeaways. This is really our first call of the year. I wanted to share some things that we had put together for the FAC on our January call, but I thought we could do a little recap here and give you some additional feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then again, if you have questions, let me know. So if you look overall at 2021, I don't think we knew what to expect from the year. Still dealing with COVID. And then we got the Omicron, and it's looks like that's going away, but it's definitely been volatile. Inventories continue to be tight, and to put it mildly. And so that's something I think we're gonna hopefully we'll start to see a loosening of inventory. Today they announced another increase in mortgage rates, but if you just look at total gross, and I'm going to show net, but we saw a massive increase in updates, and so that's clearly where there's a lot of opportunity, and a lot of you are taking advantage of that. We saw a decrease in staging around $1 million, but there was just homes were selling quickly. The home manager business took a major hit, for probably a couple different reasons. And then you've got restyles, and the other areas are fairly small. But I think some of those may get probably coded incorrectly in the staging. But if you look at the net, you can clearly staging is still the biggest one. Updates, there's clearly a big, if you look at the net, there's a big discrepancy, or just you see a big margin potential issue there. But our average is around 20%, but a number of franchisees have like single digit margins. I think if you're not in the 20 to 30% range, really you got to question, does that job make sense, especially if it's in single digits. But I think there's going to be opportunity, hopefully, in all these categories this year. So yeah, I'm going to send, someone asked, can I get a copy of the graph? So I'm going to send this presentation and a recording. So if you look at the services by franchisee, and I did a $10,000 minimum, pretty much 100% of people are doing staging. Around 3/4 are doing updates, 40% are doing home managers, restyles around 44%, and then consults is small. I don't know if we're coding it right or not, but that seems like that's a big opportunity. I know some of you, like the Gullivers, I think you get almost all your business from consults. That's where it starts. And then we're starting to see more sales, and that's sales inventory, furniture, accessories, and whatnot. So as we look kind of, instead of just looking forward to 2022, I want to discuss this slide that does it make the boat go faster? And in 2019, we had a keynote speaker in Nashville, Joe Calloway, and this phrase that he used really struck a chord with a lot of you guys, and for me as well. And so a lot of times motivational speakers will get you excited, then you'll forget everything they said after like 2 or 3 weeks. But there's the needle, doesn't make the move the needle. But for those of you who weren't there, the British rowing team had been very successful for back in like the 30s, but they had a long drought. They came up with a whole new system and of really focusing only on practices and exercises and activities, and everything was focused on, does it make the boat go faster? If it didn't, they just chucked it. And so for you guys, that would be something I would consider when you're looking at things to implement in 2022. Because all of us, we get, and I'm guilty, chasing the shiny object, but are there initiatives and rollouts and systems and things that you could do that really aren't going to make that boat go faster? So what are the most important things that you should be spending time on? as we look at, at show homes after, working here many years, last month was 15 years, which is crazy, but clearly the things that we see are proper staffing levels. You have to have a team. You can't do this by yourself, but you also need to have the right seats and the right, on the bus. And so again, a lot of you have worked with David Howley, but making sure you have, the right team is clearly enough, and having enough people. Broader service mix, we think that's important. Marketing, it costs money, but generating leads is really essential. And we saw people who were doing Google, just social and media in general, on house. The people who had someone dedicated to doing that, or were using AdFloor, we saw a major difference versus those who weren't. Building your fan club, we're going to talk about in a second. We'll talk about repeat realtors, because that's a really core metric we want to start measuring. Customer responsiveness, we're going to talk about that as well, but service score and our mystery shop program, I think that's been pretty eye-opening. PPG groups, we've got 3 groups now, and if you're not in a group, I'm a big fan of it. The people who are in them really love it, and I just, of all the things we do, I think that's one of the most powerful. And then, capital expenditures, inventory, trucks, vans, warehouses. With my PPG groups, most of them are spending money on these things, and they're seeing major, ROI on it. And so there are a number of funding options that, if you're interested, I can share with you with different companies. So as far as the staffing goes, I mean, we talk a lot about whether it's a virtual assistant or an admin, but bottom line is, if you had someone who could focus on all these core items that really are, you could do it, but is that a real good use of your time? The social media management, content, expenses, entering stuff in FranMan, website maintenance, all of these things. So there are ways you can do this. And so whether it's hiring someone, there are virtual assistants that's a booming business, but that may be something you look at. Marketing budget, and this is just to show you where are people getting the most effective bang for the buck. Digital is clearly where people are seeing the best return. We tried print and got really a bad, frankly, response on that. But the things where we've spent a lot of time and energy on, social's okay as far as the branding, but as far as getting leads and getting people to the websites, what we found is Google is really the king on that in a lot of ways, and search engine optimization. And if you look at just digital in general, I mean, we're engaging with AdFloor, and we're going to share more details on it soon, but on a much more beefed up search engine optimization program for all of your websites. The new website that's written in WordPress is going to be just a lot easier to get it ranked high. But SEO and making sure, do we have all the right keywords on there, not just for staging, but for updates and everything else that we do, interior design, etc. Email marketing is another thing. We see great traffic in that. And then social media, we think still can be helpful. So the AdFloor program, again, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on it right now, but a number of franchisees are using it. They've got a great dashboard with all kinds of cool metrics. You can see what your budget is, your clicks. When people talk about what's my ROI, well, we can tell you right here. And not only that, but it also can, Google can record the calls, which is good for you, but it's pretty eye-opening. And so there's lots of just tracking of all of the metrics in general. It helps you with your reviews. But we talked about the service score program, and here's a location, and just when we looked at the numbers, and this isn't to put anyone on the hot spot, but the calls from last year, they answered less than 15% of them. And so a lot of times they're not going to answer, they're not going to leave a message, they'll just move on. So having someone answer the phone or answer for us or someone is really critical, because the people, let me just say, the people who are calling, these are really hot leads. These are people who want to do business with you right away. So again, the staffing thing is definitely an issue, but having a solution, whether it's whether it's an admin, a virtual assistant, or answer force. And I talk about some of the things answer force can do for you. So service score, the first report we had, 83% of the people failed. Now the second one was a lot better. Now I know we're easing into that, but what we found is wrong phone numbers and just a lot of issues. And so we've rolled out not only the service score program, but also training. And so if you've not gone through the training with all the videos that Lynn put together and show you, I think she wants it to get completed this month. It's good stuff. I mean, it's easy to get through, but it's pretty eye-opening. I think it's good for your people as well. But you know, if we generate leads and we don't respond to them, all of us are throwing money down the drain. And you know, you can take a look at some of this stuff later, but bottom line, people are expecting a quick response, and if they have a bad experience, they're not going to come back to you. So it's pretty critical. So repeat customers, I want to just touch on this briefly. I sent out an email in the last newsletter about it. And so there are a lot of statistics that talk about how much more valuable that repeat customer is, how much easier it is to sell. But what we looked at was the total number of referrals and multiple referral customer for realtors, and what was the repeat rate. And so I highlighted the people who are on the panel today, and you can see they're, you know, Mainline, who had a huge year, they had the most number of repeats. So you know, again, 80% of most marketing is focused on new acquisition versus your current customers. I saw a video Laura Lee in Charleston posted taking some kind of gift basket to all her top realtors. So things like that make a big difference. So our friend Pratt, who's rivals Bert as far as his data analysis, he put this together and sent it to me. But outside of really Triad in San Diego, you can see that there is a real, you know, it's pretty eye-opening. Once you get to 10 realtors or more, your revenue goes through the roof. And so if you're under 10, it's a, you know, and especially if you're under 5 or less, it's an issue. So that's a metric that you can look at in the data download. And so if you need help with that, just get with Christy, but that's a metric we want to start measuring. And you know, he also, you know, Pratt also put together some cool metrics that I'll share in the newsletter, but they look at the top 10 realtors and revenue and what they're bringing in. So that would be something else that you want to know. And these are some data that if you don't know, I would spend some time, and really sometimes you you get real busy and it falls through the cracks. You don't really realize that kind of stuff. So I sent this yesterday. I saw this from Tom Ferry is a real estate trainer. Several franchisees have used him over the past. So there's a thing called HBUT, your highest and best use of your time. So where do you excel? That's what you need to do more of in 2022. But in order to focus more time there, you're going to need to grow your team and or delegate to outsource tasks to give you that time. So Answer Force put this flyer together that I'm going to send you. And they offer services that are part of the package I wasn't even aware of. It's 24/7, but they'll respond to your leads, not just your phone calls, but if you want to send them your copies of your inquiries for any of your, you know, whether it's Levitate or your online, they can call them back. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? They can, you can give custom scripts. They can set appointments for you. So they can call those people back. They can get, they have a version of Calendly. They can get people, you know, scheduled. So, you know, we're talking about a virtual assistant, but this is all part of the Answer Force program. You can have a dedicated business line. So when we did the service score, a lot of you were saying, hello, who is it? Because it's your personal line as well. So it might be nice to have a different line for your business than your personal. I know that kind of goes back and forth, but you can do that. And then they've got live chat and video calls. So there's a new guy named Tristan Guyton. Our old rep left to take care of a sick mom, but if you've not used Answer Force and aren't aware of those things, I think that seems like one of the best cost-effective programs you could consider. Fran Funnel, that's the automated texting program that we showed at conference. They're going to continue to give us the special rate of $50 a month, even though the normal rate's $300. But I know Catherine and is able to reach like 95% of her people now right away. I sent out a poll in our Facebook group and asked, what's your top way of communicating? And I think the only thing that got votes was text. And so again, I think texting is going to be the wave of the future as far as reaching people. So this is a really neat program that, if someone sends an inquiry 24/7, they'll be able to get an automated response and you can schedule a call. So AdPlore, again, they can handle your marketing campaigns instead of you trying to figure this out and getting involved with all the Google algorithms. Again, let someone who does this for a living do it. And then again, the admin aspect. I wish we could hire an admin for every one of you guys. If Mark Cuban bought us, that would probably be the first thing he did, is give all of you an admin, because it's just that old saying, having the dollar guy doing the nickel job. So there's a lot of detail and things that need to get done, but I'd rather have that done with a lower price person. And then on the accounting side, Jamie Lynn has really become our default accounting person. Her new websites, we take care of your business so you can take care of your business. And no longer, I was looking at this, when you like to spend more time on growing your business and less time tallying receipts. So she does great work. So if you're not connected with Jamie Lynn, it's really, to me, a no-brainer as well. So that is my presentation. Any questions or feedback before we get to the panel? All right. Well, hopefully that.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
When you broke out the different revenue categories earlier,
yep.
where would furniture leasing fall in which category?
Financial, like rental or something like that?
Yeah, like leasing. Yeah.
That would probably be, we didn't have a category in that. So I would think that would be in the staging.
Okay.
So we're going to be updating the categories, and instead of success fee, there'll be fee for service, but we're going to be breaking out additional categories this year.
Okay.
So I want to go over.
I have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
I talked to Front Funnel yesterday,
Okay.
and they said it was $99 a month.
Really? Okay. Well, I will check for you, because that's.
Thank you. I had a meeting, and I actually brought it up to Heather, and she said 99, and I said, well, then can we get like a month free trial? I mean, not free trial, like a trial first. And
right.
She's like, no, you have to fill out the documentation. They do it for 3 months, where you pay $99 a month, and you can cancel anytime after that. But the quote was 99. So I was going to do it because 50 and 50 for Answer Force. That's what I want to do. I've been doing Answer Force the whole time, and it works for me.
Right.
I was quoted that $99 one as well. Now at 50, I might do it.
Okay.
I was
50, I would do it.
too.
All right. Well, I'll ask the question. So I think, Catherine, are you still paying 50?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I will,
as far as I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, I was quoted the 99 also on my call with Frank
Okay.
Funnel.
Well, then I first time hearing of this, so I will reach out and try to figure out what's going on there. So, all right. So, Allie, are you with us now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there's Allie. So we've got on our panel today, we've got mainline, we've got Allie. Monica's out, not feeling great, but Allie is probably the one you want to talk to anyway, to be honest. So, and then we've got Leanne. Are you with us as well? Leon.
Looks like she's joining right now.
It's like she's
Okay.
connecting.
Okay, and then we've got Catherine. Okay. So why don't we do this? So Ally, we'll start with you since you guys are our reigning franchisee of the year. So you had a huge year. One of the things I was also going to show on here, a big chunk of your revenue was updates, but you still did it at 21% margin. So you made a $108,000 profit. So I think that's not bad. I know we get sometimes people say you can't make money with updates. I think you guys prove that you can. You want to walk us through your 2021 and let us know kind of how things went and what was working and how you were able to have 110% doubling of your business?
Sure. So, I mean, I guess to start the year, I think it was a little unknown of what was going to happen. And then we ended up just started getting the word out to our agents that we were doing more interior design jobs and updates. And since it was difficult to get furniture and contractors to do different work, a lot of people just ended up using us on the buy side. So we were able to get a lot of work that way. And we grew our team. We added our head mover. We brought on part-time, so we were able to get more done in a week. I think that was a huge difference. Like, he approached us and just asked for more time, and we were so concerned we weren't going to have enough work for him, but it always works out. You always have plenty for them to do. So we were able to do deliveries for furniture for a lot of our interior design clients on the days that we weren't doing staging installs. We were able to have him deliver product for updates and things like that. So I would say those were kind of the two biggest things that we did. And just to get the margin, I just think it's just using a spreadsheet and, doing the math correctly, and you can make it work. So
you had the most number of repeat realtors. You may not have been aware of that, but you had 20. So what are some of the things that you guys have done to get that kind of referral rate? Because that's 42% is a pretty great number.
I don't know that we necessarily do anything specific. I just am responsive when our best agents are reaching out to us. We're just very fortunate that we do work with the top agents in our territory. So I think just going after like the real top producers, the real full-time agents, and not wasting your time with someone who just does this part-time or I would say that that's the biggest thing. It's just making those people happy and delivering every single time. They always say whenever they work with us, like, there's no drama. I mean, whether they know what's going on behind the scenes or not, like, it's always like smiling faces. They are on time, done when we said we were going to be done, and they just keep coming back.
So you had the most traffic of any website. You had around 8,000 unique visitors. And so I think, is Monica more involved in the actual Google ad buys and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, she is. But she really honestly doesn't spend a whole heck of a lot of time on it. I think at the beginning it was a lot of like test and control and things like that. But I would just say, yeah, we toggle that Google spend depending on what's going on in our business, how much we want to spend on it. And we just, always want to be the first one on the list. So just set your budget high. And
yeah, because I think she told me her budget is like $800. So that puts her near the top of the list, but she may reduce that to like $300 once you
right. And you can set your budget, but that's just your budget. You're not going to spend that much always. I would say we usually spend between $300 and $500 a month when you actually see how many clicks and impressions you're getting,
Okay. So, and how is this year looking? Are you booked through February, or how go things?
Yeah, this year is like, so far has been heavy staging. We're in about 25 houses right now, and all of them are under contract. So we're actually investing in more inventory right now because we have several very large properties coming up, and we're not going to get our other inventory back in time. So,
do you see staging being a bigger part of your revenue than updates this year, or do you think it'll stay about the same?
I would say about the same, probably more staging. I don't know that I'll have as many updates, although I do have a really big update that I've been working on for about 6-7 months that now that's just, it's gonna actually start March
What does that
1st.
mean, really big?
Like I don't even have like a final number for it, but I would say like we're just doing the flooring piece right now. And the flooring piece is about 35,000.
Okay.
So, and that's just the start of it.
Oh, wow. So it's gonna probably be like $100K job or more.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, good deal. All right, so, well, Catherine, how about you? Now, you 2020 was a tough year for you with the COVID and everything else, but it looks like the world changed last year. You want to walk us through the 180 that happened last year?
Yeah, I mean, my secret to a really high percent change is have a horrible year the year before. No, we really didn't know what to expect with 2021. So there was almost no planning. It was a fly by the seat of our pants kind of year. And I owe almost all of the business that we have is due to referral and repeat business. What's interesting for us, I was thinking about that, like our number of repeat realtors or the percentage of our business has actually gone down a little bit. I think it was like 30-something%. And it used to be higher for us. But
Right.
that is, 37. That is a result of our market, right? So there's very little inventory. So even the realtors that we use repeatedly, they have less houses. So in order for us to continue to stay fully booked, we had to go find new realtors, which I think in the long run is only going to benefit us, because if we continue to deliver for these new realtors as well, then it's only going to be bigger as the market hopefully gets some semblance of normal happening. The vast majority of our business was staging, almost all of it. We do have are very lucky that the Portland market is very mature when it comes to staging, and despite the insane selling speeds, particularly higher end homes have sold, or I mean, sorry, are continuing to stage. So yeah, the realtors that we've been using that believe in staging continue to use us, and we just kind of made it happen. What those numbers don't really show, well, not those numbers, but the full numbers too, is that we've also drastically reduced our operating costs from 2020. So yeah, our revenue is up 124%. The profit, the difference between the 2 years, I don't actually know the exact number, is massive. Well more than 124% improvement, because we were able to change the way we do things in 2021.
Catherine, how did you reduce your operating expenses so much?
Well, so part of it was the fact that we were hemorrhaging money in 2020. So we had put in place a bunch of things expecting 2020 to be our big breakout year. And a lot of those things we couldn't get out of. So I was actually paying rent in 2 locations. I was paying a ridiculous amount of money to my movers to store my furniture, and all of these things that I could not change. Luckily, by the beginning of 2021, I found a sublet. I found a bunch of things. We were able to consolidate. We got all of our furniture out from our movers. I mean, there's just so many things that happened that are part of normal business, but just made things better. Okay. We found a new moving team that are phenomenal. They help me sleep at night, just knowing that they're there because I trust them implicitly. It's amazing. And then we increased our prices, which.
Okay. What kind of increase did you take?
I should go back and look at what the actual number increased. Basically, what it came down to is I started looking at it in terms of the rooms, the size of the home, and the sort of level of staging, like the luxury level, and realized that while my base level impact staging was not base level, but like the minimal staging and what we would even go out to a home for on an empty home was actually in line with what it should have been, because that's what we were doing the most of. It's actually pretty funny. So last summer we kept running out of furniture. I'm like, how is this possible? I mean, I sold a lot of furniture in 2020, so I kind of expected to run out, but like, I didn't understand why I was running out of beds. And then I started realizing that all of our homes that we had staged, they were staging the whole house. And then I went back and looked, and I'm like, well, if I look at everything by room and now you're doing the whole house, I basically wasn't charging enough for whole house. So like impact staging, I was pricing it correctly, but additional rooms, I wasn't raising the price enough. So people would be like, oh, wow, well, I could do the whole house for that. I'm just going to do the whole house. So raising the prices meant that people stopped doing the whole house, or they paid way more for it, which is great for us. Either way, we could either do more houses or obviously get paid what we should have been paid in the first place. So it was kind of a correction, but the timing was great because all of the stagers in Portland that had survived the pandemic were booked solid and people were willing to pay the prices. And now they're just kind of used to it. So,
Good. Okay.
yeah.
Good.
So I know, Catherine, we're getting into the Emma emails, and I think you had to stop at one point in the fall because you were getting too many calls.
Yeah. Every time I send an email out, the phone starts to ring. So I honestly sent 0 emails between April and October was my next email, because I couldn't have the phone ring and then tell people, yeah, we're booking 2 months out. I mean, I literally had people like, well, then why are you sending me an email? So I had to stop. I did notice that my last 2 Emma emails, I'm very selective. I send about 1 a month. I'm very selective about what I put in it. And we have an open rate of 46%, I think, in the last email. So it works, but like I said, I'm very selective about what I put out there.
Wow, that's awesome. So
How far out are you booking now?
Well, so I had a conversation with Allie earlier in the week, because we're changing the way we do our bookings, and now we're going to do all of our the big moving on one day of the week. So I actually have jobs and we're doing them on Tuesday. So I have jobs the next couple of Tuesdays, but I actually have room to do more. There's a lot of stuff up in the air right now. We have a ton of potential jobs, but everything is delayed because of construction delays, and we don't know, and this and that and the other thing. So it's a little messy right now, but I mean, we're booked and we have jobs in February, but I actually have room for more. So.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So Leanne, you are getting cleanup. So big increase last year. So I know you did a lot of updates, it looks like. So you want to walk us through your 2021?
Yeah, so 2021 was the first full calendar year for us, because we started in Q2 of 2020. So that helps. But I mean, there was also the pandemic that kind of made us come to a screeching halt for the first, 6 months of business too. We did have updates that contributed a good bit to this number. And we also increased our stagings as well, surprisingly, even in a tough market, not to the level that I wanted, but we saw some good bumps, in spring and fall that kind of helped with that. And then we also started doing some more furniture sales. So that's been helpful as well.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about, we mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you saw, we're talking about moving. Will it make the boat move faster? So things that will have a big impact this year. So I want to actually maybe open that up to everyone, but I guess for the panel first. So Allie, you guys got either one or a couple of vehicles last year, did you not?
Yeah, so we lease a 26-foot box truck, and then we purchased a Sprinter van so that we could have all the accessories and art in the van, or if we were just doing like a restyle that just had a couple pieces, we would be able to use the van instead of the truck. So we did that. Those were our vehicles.
So you have a team that you pay people hourly to move, and they just use your trucks. Is that right?
Yes. So we have 3 movers. Our head mover works about 20 to 25 hours a week. And then I have the other two that work on Wednesdays, which is our big day. And then if I need to add days, I usually do Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I have another mover that comes and helps our lead mover on those days.
Okay, so just curious, so Leanne, what about you? Do you have movers, or do you have a truck, or how do you do it?
So we still rent from Penske. We do commercial rental from Penske. I've kind of crunched the numbers, and we're just right on the cusp of where it makes sense to buy versus continue to rent.
Right.
So we haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I think we're going to get close here either this year, maybe next year. We use a moving labor company, but we have a deal with them for a little discount, and I generally get the same couple of guys, or at least one of them, maybe with somebody else, so they know our warehouse and how we like to do things pretty well, and that really helps.
Oh, great. And Catherine, do you use a third-party moving service?
I do, yeah. So we've gone through a lot of different movers in the Portland area till we found the ones that we got. They have built the vast majority of their business working for stagers. They used to work for the two biggest luxury stagers in Portland before they got their own teams. So they know how this works. They know how to treat the furniture right. They know how to treat the houses right. They show up on time. They're clean. They're amazing. And they give me a discounted rate compared to the state regulated rates.
Okay.
And they provide the truck. And then we have a big 2500 Nissan 2500 commercial van that we can do restyles or other stuff in as well. It's branded.
I know I feel like every year we get this debate: do you pay for movers or do you get a truck? And it kind of goes back and forth. I guess it depends on your area, but one other thing to look at is that truck van is you have it wrapped as a great billboard, and it gets the phone ringing. So Allie, have you guys gotten any kind of response from people from you got a big van as well?
Yeah, so we just got the van wrapped like the very end of last year. So it's really only been on the road wrapped for like 6 weeks now. But it just looks so professional. Like next week, I'm doing a $6.5 million house. I'm gonna look like I know what I'm doing when I show up with this van and our truck, and everyone has their show homes gear on. So it's just, if you're going after that luxury market, I just feel like it just looks very professional.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you guys are all in PPGs, and we talk about rocks or things that are going to make the boat move faster. So maybe you could just give us your major rocks for the year that you think are going to make that boat move down the road or delay. So Allie, how about you guys? What are your major rocks?
Well, my big rock for Q1, which I'm not sure I'm gonna get it done because it's nuts, is we had our homegrown inventory system, but we're moving to stage 4. So we're working on getting everything inventoried, but it's just slow coming. So
I should have put stage 4 on my ways to save time, because I know you guys had a gigantic spreadsheet that had to be really tedious to fill out. So stage 4 is a great idea.
Yeah.
Leanne, how about you? What's your major rock or couple rocks this year?
So we're really working on increasing repeat realtors. You were showing that spreadsheet before. I'm sort of surprised that we have one of the highest number of new real estate agents of any franchise. And this is kind of indicative of the market here in Raleigh. We get a lot of calls for interest. They want to get to know us, but they have no listings, or they call and they use us for like a consultation, but won't proceed with staging. So we're trying to get that second column, the repeat realtors, up, but we're just fighting against a tough market. So that's a big goal for us, and we're working on doing that just with hopefully some more face-to-face and networking. I mean, things are finally maybe, I mean, we keep saying this and then we have setbacks, but finally maybe starting to be able to like see people face to face, and that always seems to have a positive impact on what happens. So
Lots of mandates are being shut off this week, so that would be nice. Portland, Catherine, how about you? What are your big rocks for the year?
So one of our big rocks last year was to finish implementing Stage Force, and it's still a rock that we just keep pushing up the hill. So we need to finish that.
Be persistent.
Yeah, we're not going to give up. We're getting there. We're definitely making progress. Actually, for us, the big one was changing up our calendar and how we schedule things. And by trying to do all the staging together, we keep the movers occupied for a whole day. We utilize them completely. Then we can have more room in the rest of our schedule to do other things. I'd like to do a lot more consultations and restyles than we do. We're making some changes in staffing as well. So I'm going to have a virtual assistant that's going to do our social media. And then I actually just have somebody accepted an offer to come on board with us. And she used to be an organizer, and her favorite thing to do is consultations and restyles. So it's all working out just as I planned.
That's awesome. All right, so we have a lot of new people on the call, and this is always my favorite questions, but I'm going to ask each of you guys, and then I'm going to open up to the group. But knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? What would be the core things? Because I'm sure you've made your fair share of mistakes, and what would make that boat go much faster than it has taken you? So, Allie, if you could talk to 5 or 7, you've been here like 7 years. If you could talk 7 years ago, Allie, what would you tell her?
Couple things. I would say definitely a faster ramp up, and I would really make sure you know your area and focus on the top agents. Don't waste your time with these piddly little agents that do a listing a year. It's not worth your time. And I would say be more accepting of help. Get help sooner than you think. I know it's really scary to invest in people when you're bleeding money, but I think that now, because I did it with myself for so long, I'm a little set in my ways, and I would just say, be more open to really building your team and growing together rather than trying to do it yourself.
Catherine, how about you? What would you tell the Catherine of 4 or 5 years ago to do differently?
Your husband is not going to help you with this, so get a partner in the beginning.
I see Dr. G doing the same thing.
Yeah. So a partner, somebody who's, has a vested interest, so you could really bounce ideas off of. Highly recommend that. And then the other thing that I threw away so much money on in the beginning is I didn't buy wholesale for the first year and a half. And I know the new franchisees are doing more of that, but yeah, take advantage of the wholesale that's out there, the deals you can get through RISA and through Show Homes, because it's so worth it. I essentially gave away a lot of money in the first year and a half buying everything retail.
And, I would think, we haven't really talked about this recently, but you probably need to order much further in advance than you did years ago as well.
Yeah.
You're 9-10 months to get certain vendors and stuff. So, all right. So Leanne, what would you tell the Leanne of 2 years ago? What's your advice? Knowing what you know now.
I think my biggest thing has just been on inventory management. We've been, really, we're just wrapping up year 2. And so we've had to go from 0 inventory to a whole warehouse full. And we did so right at the beginning when everything was shut down because of the pandemic. And that made sourcing things incredibly difficult. I would say I'm still trying to dig my way out of that. And I wish that I had been able to, or I wish that I did go about it differently, because I'll tell you that I have a lot of regret purchases that were made out of desperation. So, you know, just being able to like manage manage buying of furniture a little bit better so that my dollars could have been spent on pieces that I really love rather than pieces I was desperate and what could I get in, you know, 3 days that then I hate and it sits on the warehouse shelf and, you know, I gotta sell at a loss. So
You mean no more Wayfair purchases?
not no more Wayfair purchases. I actually really have some things that I love that I've gotten from Wayfair, and sometimes I get things cheaper, like Alex stuff. Sometimes I'll get cheaper from Wayfair and faster than directly from Alex, for example. So it's not that there's no Wayfair purchases, but I have to be less driven by panic mode buying, I would say, and more strategic and planned buying. And that just takes a little more time to think through. And, you know, now that we're kind of in stage force, which was really hard to do in storage units, I think I can do that a little bit better. So.
Well, I still remember when Allie and Monica went over their big, before stage force, they went over their spreadsheet, and when they did a full analysis using Excel, they found was, Allie, wasn't it like 25% of your inventory wasn't being utilized or something like that? I mean, it was like this big eye opener for you.
I don't know that I know the number, but that's part of what I'm excited about for Stage Force, to be able to track and see like what we're actually using. Cause I can only, like, based on the spreadsheet, I can only like look where it was last used. And if I know, like, I just know, oh, that was 6 months ago, then I just tell you right now, I got all the beige sofas that have been sitting there for a year. I need to go away.
So there's a thread going about movers. I can tell you this happens a lot. I've been to the HSRA conference. I know Laura Lee's been a lot, I think 5 times, and they have this warehouse tour of their location. It's in Dallas, and Janet's got HSRA, but she has her own staging business, Model My Home, and it's been around forever. But she always challenges people and says, I can show you the numbers. You can buy a box truck and I can pay my mover $17, $18 versus you paying 75 to 100. I'm going to save money, more money than you every time, and I'm going to be able to market my business. So I'm just telling you, that's what a lot of people, that's the thought process. But Pratt's asking how many on here own their own trucks. I think that would be good, you know, if you guys can chime in either way. But he also had a question regarding to Allie, do you have your own warehouse / mover helping with stagings? And I guess Allie, you said you got a 5,000 square foot warehouse. You've got a warehouse manager that does all the accessory packing, unpacking, hangs all the art, basically is your design assistant. So and then Pratt said, have you found that saved you money over using movers? The worry is having a full-time guy and keeping them busy. So Allie, has this saved you money doing all this? Have they stayed busy?
No idea, but I will tell you, it's the best money I ever spent having them on my team and just there to do things. Like, there's always something to do, something that needs to be fixed. Another reason why I want Stage Force, I can flag something, it needs to be fixed. You go in the system. It's not me remembering every little thing to try and like tell someone what needs to be done. I wouldn't change it. I'm not sure if it's saving me money, but it's helping me, and just gives us more flexibility to do more jobs.
I have a feeling Shelley could find stuff to keep him busy. So
no doubt about that.
yeah. So I mean, you have to think, you know, that but you know, what is your time worth? You know, are you, you know, I've heard you don't make money stacking pillows and things. So let's see. Chris Gulliver commented, we have our own 17-foot box truck and 2 mover employees. We also use professional movers for larger jobs. And then they have 2 warehouses totaling 10,000 square floor space. But they have a mezzanine. I guess they've got different layers. That's 22 feet high. Let's see. And then
Matt?
Chris thinks they save a bunch with their own movers. So yes,
Matt?
Nancy? Yes.
So in Asheville, we have our own truck and guys. And a typical staging day will cost us about 350 to 375 with the truck that we have up in Asheville. In
Okay.
Triad, we outsource with the truck and the movers, and then take our van with accessories. An average move here in the Triad for the same amount of a stage will cost us anywhere between 575 and 675.
Yeah, so it's almost, it's not, it's at least 40%, if not closer to half.
Yeah, and that's, and I was thinking about showing, everyone on the panels their profit keeper, but we don't have everyone's data in there. But I mean, that's one of the big line items as far as expenses every year. I mean, and that alone can just have a major impact on your profitability. So yeah.
One of the things that you find, and honestly, Chris Gulliver is the one who beat it into my head, because I kept thinking the same question that Pratt had: do you use the person that you have? Well, the answer to that question is if it's just one full-time person, there is lots of things that one full-time person can do outside of staging. So think about what your staging activities in how much time that takes up, and then how much time is left to get the person to the level that you need them to be, whether that be 30 hours or that be 40 hours. For us, we were just blessed to have two different systems with what we have in the Triad and what we have in Asheville. And now that we can compare the numbers with what we have with having our own truck, and we don't have as big a truck as Allie and Chris do in their particular locations, we decided to go with a smaller truck. And honestly, if we'd have had more available capital at the time, we'd have bought a bigger truck, and it would have been even more effective. But with the team that we have now, sometimes we might have to make 2 loads with the smaller truck. But you're able to do so many things, and having those guys to do the extra work for you, it's exactly what you said. You take yourself out of the things that are not producing the money and allows you to do other things. There are things that you don't do that should be done, but you would do them if you had your own movers.
So are you saying you're going to buy a van, you're going to buy a truck and hire people in Triad?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What?
Are you saying that now after the Asheville experience, you're going to get a truck and a team of movers?
Yes.
in
Hell
Triad?
no.
Hey, you just said it saved you money.
I'm not buying anything right now.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
This is the marriage counseling portion of the call.
Pay no attention to the guy still on pain meds from surgery. Yes, we're getting a truck and guys.
Yeah, we're not buying crap.
Oh,
I'm about
I
to
love
mute
hearing
the-
this.
I'm
See,
about to have to mute the North Carolina contention. So, all right, y'all
Oh.
fight it out on your own. Okay,
I
so
have, may I throw something out there?
sure.
One of the things that I find I spend a lot of time on that I think I should be doing higher level things is scheduling and my calendar management with my movers and my team and so on and so forth. And a realtor just said to me last week, she said, what you need is a CRM. Now, I'm curious to know, are you all plugged into a CRM? Do you have other useful ways to manage your time that way to
I think
eliminate?
we could have probably 5 calls about CRMs. I
I
know
think,
HubSpot is a hot one. I think Barn Dollars have been heavy into that. I think Laura Lee's into it. There's a number of people who use HubSpot. Now Nancy's been using, I didn't realize it had this feature, but I don't think it's a full on version, but Client Point has a CRM.
oh, really?
Love it.
But Nancy, you were telling me what do you use it for exactly?
So we use it for tracking won versus lost contracts. We use it for tracking the repeat realtors as well, for homeowners versus realtors. Because it has all of your realtor information in there, and a lot of times we go back and we add the homeowner information into the same proposal because they end up opening the proposal from the realtor. So we just capture their information and add them in. So we have everybody in there. So we just really use it just to track the basics. I'm not a huge spreadsheet kind of person. If Robbie comes on full-time, I'm sure I'll be inundated with spreadsheet data. But for me, it's more important to know the basic core things so that I can get out there. I don't go on stagings anymore at all. All I do is sell and do the design consultations and the update consultations. So for me to be able to track the data to see how much revenue we've won versus how much revenue we've lost and see where I need to change things up, that's what I use it for.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I don't go on very many stagings myself either. But I still do all of the scheduling. So do you find that out of Client Point, you can schedule it into the calendar so all of your team members can see where they need to be when?
They are trying to implement that part in there, but I have not used that to track it. We have a.
You can do that though. You can integrate Calendly and a calendar.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. So you
Yeah.
might want to talk to Charity and Mai about it. I don't think it's going to be have nearly the horsepower, frankly, of a HubSpot, but we've gone down the road of CRMs a lot. The bottom line, CRMs are awesome, but they're only awesome if you spend time to learn it and to enter data and to use it.
Is anybody using Monday.com?
We tried Monday and it wasn't as user-friendly as Trello. So we have Trello and Chris and Lisa introduced us to Trello.
Okay.
And I love it because we can put projects in there and we can assign certain people to certain jobs in there so that not everybody sees every single job. And that way I don't get too many chiefs trying to jump in on one job and not do their own job. But we can do all the scheduling, the to-do, the projected, the done, and know what has to be done on a job as far as job tasks go. But Pratt just asked what design software we use. For me, it's design files, and it's growing more and more into what it can do for us. So for me, between design files and Client Point, those are my two biggest things. Paige, my project manager, handles most of the Trello things. My designers are really focused on the design files because we can do the 2D boards or the 3D floor plans. And it's growing so much with what they offer. But in design files, my favorite part is I can take a 2D mood board, and once I put in my vendors and the product numbers, I can click it over to, once the client approves it right there in live time, right there on the screen, I can take it to a quote. And then I can take it to, if they approve the quote, I can take it directly. I can click on create POs and it separates it out by vendors and prints out my POs. I can email those directly to the vendors. I can create an invoice for the client and implement it straight into QuickBooks.
A lot of feedback on a couple things. ClickUp, which I'm not even sure what ClickUp is. Who's a ClickUp user? They can explain it.
ClickUp's project management tool similar to Monday.
Okay.
And it is a little bit unwieldy to get started, but once you do, it's way more powerful than what most of us are going to need. But
okay. So Leanne uses Google Calendar along with a couple others, I think Catherine and Marissa, plus T-Sheets. So yeah, I mean the Google system we have, I mean that's an enterprise version with a lot of different things in it, including video. But the shared calendar, I think, that's a no-brainer if you're not using the Google aspect of it. Design file, and Laurel's really into it. I think, Allie, Monica had mentioned that you guys have someone who does your designs with design files, like in Colorado, like you send them an empty room and they send you back the design.
Yeah, so we were using a company that's called Symmetry Design, and we talked about it in our PPG group. They did that really nice, like legitimate rendering for the update job that we're working on this year. So
Right.
we basically just sent them, we were lucky enough to have the floor plan for that particular property. So we sent them the floor plan and photos of the house and then kind of gave them the direction of what we wanted it to look like and what finishes we wanted them to use. And then they did a 3D rendering, but they can also do like product selections for you. If you don't have time to do that, you know, they can put together the design board and different options and, but it was a little costly. So that's the only.
And the name is, again, Symmetry, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
Symmetry Designs. Yep.
And they're in Denver
Yeah, I believe so.
or
Yeah.
somewhere in Colorado? Okay, so Yasmin had questions. Okay. So just, I'm using this slide frankly in franchise development because I mean, if you look at home improvement, just the market is going through the roof. I mean, just, I know we're doing a lot of updates right now, but as the inventory continues to be an issue, I see this as, you know, just there's a lot of potential here. I know you have to price it right and things like that. So curious what you guys are thinking about updates. Is this something you're going to be spending time on this year? Do you see this as another revenue driver, boat
Well,
mover?
I'll jump in on that. Yeah, we're definitely trying to increase our revenue stream on updates and interior design and things like that. And I find that I think we're starting to understand the pricing model a little bit better, but I'd love to hear some input from the other franchise owners, what you're looking at for marking up the various parts of that job. So anybody who can jump in on that, we'd love to hear more information.
So you'd like to know average markup for
Yeah.
services for updates?
Marking everything up 30%, or what are you using for a calculation on product that you're getting wholesale and then putting it into the update
Let's
budget?
ask the panel first. So Ally, how about you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
What's your
Yeah.
average markup for updates?
We were trying to do between 20 and 25%, but we're going to try and increase that for this year. And try and get as close to 30 as we can get, would be ideal. Just because I just feel like in this particular large update that I'm working on right now, I've been working on it for like 6 or 7 months and spent a lot of time on it. And I really want to recoup the amount of time that I've spent trying to get the job. So
Ted just asked, as you're talking, what did you ask me?
How do you do the calculation? Do you do it the 1 minus what you want to make, or do you take the total and like times it by 0.3 and then add it?
I'd have to look at I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to go in and look at my.
We do 35, and I usually just take the total and then multiply by 0.35 and then add it to the total.
Leanne, what do you do?
So it depends on the service. We've kind of had to fine tune this based on competition here in the area. So what we found is the pricing that we get from Sherwin-Williams flooring is so competitive that we can add 50 to 60% on and still beat like Empire Today and other flooring companies because we've seen their quotes. So we're actually increasing the amount we're marking up carpeting and LVP. Paint, we really struggle with because there are so many people who are uninsured here that come in and just bid so low. They also do terrible jobs, but a lot of people who are selling their house just don't care. So we really hardly mark up painting. I have one guy now that I'm using that I found I can mark him up, 10 to 20% and still do okay on the competitive nature. I'll never be able to beat those uninsured folks, but I can bring him in with confidence. And then, like other things like light fixtures, those kind of things, we're trying to get discounts or start going to wholesale for light fixtures, and wholesale we'd be able to mark up more for the light fixtures where we go through a company here, we get a 20% designer discount. And then, so we mark it up about 10% over list price. So, we're getting about that 25, 30% buffer. So that's kind of where we're at. It just depends on what it is.
So Yasmin says she's at 40%. So
Okay,
All right,
We-
guys, so, go ahead.
We found that a lot of the monies with Sherwin-Williams is in the carpet and the flooring. I mean, at just about every job, we can be very competitive and we can make a lot of money on the carpet and the flooring. And the same thing with the paint. It's, you don't make a lot, but sometimes if you're doing carpet and flooring and counters and everything else, you got to get your painter in there and do it all.
If you've not, for those who haven't signed up with Sherwin-Williams on the flooring side, I definitely would
Fantastic.
recommend it. I know it's a franchise and, sometimes, I've heard not every location is great, or it may not be near you or whatever, but check into it. And again, if you have a good location near you, that's, I know I think they stock, at one point they were stocking inventory for the Gullivers because they were doing so much. But yeah, flooring is definitely looks like where the margins are, there's a lot more potential. So,
Well, to Ted's point, there, I don't know how true it is, but it makes intuitive sense that McDonald's loses money selling hamburgers, but they make so much from their French fries and their colas that it's worth it.
yeah.
So Matt, when we do ours, our flooring and our paint are typically marked up. We do it by margin. So like if I'm doing a $10,000 job, I'll divide it. If I want my 30% margin, I'll divide it by 0.7. And that tells me what my job price should be. So that gets you more money than multiplying it times 0.3. You're leaving money on the table. So if you do the math, you'll see the difference.
say that again.
We've done it both ways.
You
yeah.
divide it by 0.7.
Yeah,
0.7.
one minus what your markup is.
Yeah.
So
So
5%, it's whatever
Yeah.
it is divided by 1 minus, say 0.25, so it's ended up 0.75 or 0.7 or 0.6.
So whenever we can do, we've opened up a lot of new accounts, guys. It doesn't cost you anything to open a new account. And most of these vendors don't run your credit to see how new your business is or whatever, as long as you've got your EIN number and you can provide your wholesale number, they are going to open an account for you. So we now have lighting accounts, we have granite, we have flooring, we have paint accounts with Sherwin-Williams so that we can get the business. But anytime you can open up a wholesale account, you can always have a greater margin. But whenever we can't use that particular lighting or granite where we can buy wholesale, those markups tend to be somewhere right around 25%, the margins. So whenever I do wholesale, I can have on some furniture, I have 100%. Like Uttermost, Bernhardt, Lexington, Hooker, all of those have a minimum suggested retail price that it has to be sold for, or an internet, it's an IMAP price, and it's the cheapest it can be sold for on the internet. If you open a wholesale account, you are typically still 30 to 40% less than the IMAP. And it is incredible the amount of money that you can make on sale of goods if you will pay attention to the wholesale vendors.
Good info.
And speaking of vendors, we've updated the preferred vendor list. It's in Showpedia. Nancy actually helped us out on that, and a few other people. So good source for additional vendors. All right, guys. Well, we are at our time. So I thought a lot of great input and feedback. Thanks for the panel. And yeah, we will share the recording in the newsletter tomorrow. But a lot of good content. And so I'll be sharing the presentation as well, and make it a good rest of the week and month. And we will talk soon. All right, guys.
Hey, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Matt.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.